So I thought I'd start with the teams that scored the lowest grades. These are the F grades: Atlanta United and Chicago Fire. I can't really see any pull for Pogba wanting to join Atlanta United. They do have a productive midfield, performance-wise, but there's no one of Pogba's previous or current level. And on top of that, while an MLS contract may be lucrative, they're not always able to match deals from European clubs, especially a team like Atlanta that's rebuilding, far from being contenders. Chicago Fire are pretty much the same, just a worse team than Atlanta, so straight no. Inter Milan. While it's not unusual to see a player switch teams within the Serie A, this is a highly unlikely move for Pogba. This is a team that's still undergoing financial recovery following ownership changes, plus substantial losses. They've kept relatively the same midfield as the previous title-winning season, and obviously it's still working for them today. Top of Serie A, second in the Champions League. I strongly doubt they make a big move on any midfielder in January. Manchester United. Now that this team is finally somewhat freed from the chains of Erik ten Hag, we might actually get to see a more well-balanced midfield because the pieces are definitely there. The best of Manchester United in this post-Fergie era was when Pogba was on the pitch. I'm glad I finally proved that Pogba wasn't a bust. His last season for Manchester United was just marred by injury, still able to contribute 9 assists. But it's extremely rare to see a player return to a club twice, especially on a permanent transfer deal. The club had financial losses last year, no Champions League football. It would be challenging for Manchester United to meet Pogba's contract expectation. It's his home country of France, and to be honest, this team can definitely improve in chances converted. They have a good to average midfield, with Amin Harit and Højbjerg being the standout creative. Despite being third, their attack struggled to convert their chances into goal, but their defense is much worse. De Zerbi has expressed a team need for a big player at Marseille, but I think their priority first will be to bolster their defense. Newcastle United. Newcastle are in a much better situation to meet Pogba's contract demand. The midfield overall is average, but the addition of Pogba could create an interesting dynamic with Bruno. If I was Eddie Howe, it's a move I wouldn't think twice about. Alexander Isak needs all the receptions he can get for that team to thrive in the Premier League. But I can't trust Newcastle. Since signing Isak, the acquisition of players has been disappointing. With regards to league competition, the existing players and staff at the club, I can't see enough that would convince Pogba to consider Newcastle. Let's start grading the teams in the next tier. It seems like Fenerbahce happened to have a well-functioning midfield this season under the recent appointment of Jose Mourinho. It's keeping them second in the Turkish league, and they remain contenders in the Europa League. Mourinho was a big factor in Pogba's return to Manchester United, and in the 2017-18 season, they produced what was by far Manchester United's most successful season since Alex Ferguson. The only doubt I have is whether Pogba and Mourinho are willing to revive their historically toxic relationship. I'm optimistic it would mean well, so I'll give the move a C. Barcelona. Currently, Barcelona's midfield is thriving consistently at full cylinders, despite struggles with multiple injuries to start the season. Dani Olmo was one of my signings of the window, and he's already proved why. They're in a strong position in both La Liga and Champions League, and they do have the means to sign Pogba on a permanent deal. Hansi Flick adores having two holding midfielders, and Pogba thrives under that system. They need the depth to complete a successful season, considering the injuries they have already. Pogba would not want to share minutes with Pedri or Gavi, and so the guaranteed playing time will definitely not be enough for Pogba's needs. C+. Manchester City. Obviously, the champions are in a losing slump, clearly struggling. A City fan will tell you that the team is missing Rodri, even though they've won 6 other titles without Rodri and still have the most dynamic, technical and adaptable central midfield in the world. The real reason why they're losing, in fact, I'll let Bernardo Silva say it.
When we play well, we don't score our chances and we concede too easily.
As I was saying, the real reason why they're losing is because they're not converting their chances. Players like Foden and De Bruyne, and their defense is soft. And by the way, I don't believe that Rico Lewis is a wingback, just not the defender you need in a potential crisis like this. The season is obviously not over. Pogba would facilitate the team on both ends of the field, but the more sensible idea would be for Pep to prioritise reinforcing the defense. C+. Al-Ittihad. As far as player relationships concerned, Al-Ittihad would be the perfect destination for Pogba. Pogba attained most of his success with France alongside Kante and Benzema. Pogba and Benzema have previously expressed interest in playing together at club level with Real Madrid. They don't necessarily have a midfield need, it's well functioning, and they're currently leaders in the Saudi League. This is a stacked team and midfield, so halfway through a title race, I'm not confident there's a guaranteed role for Pogba to fill. B-. Los Angeles FC and Inter Miami. There's a tremendous opportunity for Pogba to take over either of these teams' midfield. LAFC rely heavily on their wingers for game-to-game success. After reaching the Western Conference semi-final and winning the 2024 US Open Cup this season, the team remain as contenders going into next season. They have Giroud. The acquisition of Griezmann would be another pull for Pogba. Inter Miami's midfield is young, and Pogba can easily be implemented alongside Sergio Busquets. Despite not making a deeper playoff run, they had a record-breaking season and remain contenders for the next if they can solve their defensive issues. As Pogba doesn't meet Lionel Messi's criteria, a move to LAFC would be most preferable. C+/B-. Paris Saint-Germain. As a Parisian, a move to Paris would be favourable for Pogba, and it's a move that's probably one of the easiest to get over the line. PSG have a well-composed technical midfield, and they excel really well in their press and maintaining possession. But their weakness is converting possession to goal-scoring opportunities. They need a fearless creative like Pogba. So far, they've been able to get away with this in Ligue 1, relying on their wingers, but they've been exposed in the Champions League. The hype of Fabien Ruiz over the summer generally needs to be studied because he's not meeting expectations for PSG. That's a position already available for someone of Pogba's caliber. B. Al-Nassr. This team is literally the Mane, Talisca, Ronaldo show, but sitting in third place, they're much lower in points than people would expect. The Saudi money is of course attractive, so contract negotiation shouldn't be a challenge. I think this team immediately becomes strong contenders with a well-balanced double pivot of Pogba alongside Brozovic. B. Real Madrid. This move really ticks most, if not all, boxes for Paul Pogba. He's been linked with this club countlessly, and this season would be a terrible time for him and the club. Multiple injuries across the team. No Tchouaméni. In La Liga, the two leaders in assists per game are Brahim Diaz, Raul Asensio, Vini, followed by their backup goalkeeper. And in the Champions League, only 2 assists between Modric and Bellingham. So very clearly a void to fill. The midfield needs to be a lot better. The French connection is attractive. And of course, Mbappe has praised Pogba's ability to be that goal supplier. A+.